Sometime I go to passages like Deuteronomy 8, verse 2. You shall remember all the way which the Lord your God led you these 40 years in the wilderness, to humble you, to put you to the test, to know what was in your heart, whether you keep his word or not. As the years pass in your life, you will have the opportunity to go through the same 3 gates in your reflection. Have you been humbled? Are you being tested? And how's your heart? Now, this comes as no surprise to anyone in this room or in the rooms that are watching by closed-circuit television. It comes as no surprise to hear that you are in the crosshairs of the adversary's scope. He has one great goal, and that's to bring you down. He knows you better than you know yourself. He knows you better than your partner in life. He knows you better than the parents who reared you. He has made a study of you. He knows you in your weakest moment. And coward that he is, knowing he's a defeated foe, he will take advantage of you, especially in your days of weakness. Now, I've learned over the years that one of his favorite places to attack is in times of stress. The first thing I want to point out is that you stay close to at least one friend when the stress level is high. Write that down. Little by little, the blows, the demands, the requirements, the workload will take its toll on you. And the worst possible thing you could do is to close off your friendship. Just as you needed friends in your university years, just as you needed them in your high school years, you really need them now that you're engaged in a work that will, by the very nature of the work, isolate you. Everything about my responsibility tends to push me to be alone. To do the kind of work in my study, I study alone. To do the kind of thinking that this responsibility or series of responsibilities required calls for time alone. There's nothing wrong with time alone. But there's something wrong when that's all you have. You need a friend. Why? It will help keep you accountable. A word I never heard once in my 4 years at Dallas Seminary. But now, thank God, you hear it a lot. You need to be engaged in spiritual formation. You need to be involved in learning how to relate. So stay close to at least one friend. I want to say this carefully, but I think it will help you, because when you are disappointed by those who were once close to you, it will easily be a time of bitterness for you. Your ministry will be strewn with the litter of people who disappoint you. I could name 36 today, and without much effort. I finally learned after about the first dozen that this is going to happen again. This is going to happen again. So while I want close friends, I must realize some ultimately will drift away. If I'm not careful, their drift will so disappoint me that it will affect my ministry. It will soften the blow of my voice and weaken the conviction of my heart. Especially as I try as best I can to draw them back. People who walk away usually don't announce their departure. They just quietly leave. The pressure is high. The demands are great. The pay is low. The critics are always there. Not everyone can handle life when it comes to ministry leadership. Get over those who disappoint you. Some of those who have disappointed you will in fact defect. And it will be your great, great temptation, I know what I'm talking about, to write them off and to remember their fall rather than realize God's grace is at work in their lives. And you will forget that the goal is to restore such a one in a spirit of meekness, considering yourself, lest you also be tempted. Galatians chapter 6, verse 1. The goal is not judgment forever, it is ultimate restoration. It takes broad shoulders to do that, especially if you are a powerful and influential individual. Especially when you have those that you really don't need, quote unquote, who could fall again, and sometimes do. All this to say that as you grow older and as the stress intensifies, may you grow in grace as well as truth. Someone forgave you once, remember? Or twice. Truth be told, all of us have stories that would surprise those sitting right next to us. Not only our stories, but the stories of our children. And we go on. May your ministry be characterized as one who stays close to at least one friend, long term. That you're able to get over the disappointment of someone who walks away. And you're big enough to lift up and encourage those who fell but have now recovered. As you get older in your ministry and as you grow, you will tend toward laziness. Things that work for you, you'll become better at, more adept at. You'll get better at faking it if you're not careful. Before long, you can be an out-and-out professional hypocrite, and they'll love you. The problem is you have to live with yourself and you have to give account. By getting over those who disappoint you, you will guard yourself against bitterness. By putting your arms around and encouraging those who have been restored following a fall, you will guard against pride. And if you watch out for those who would harm you, you will guard against disillusionment. At the end of his life, Paul says that. And then finally, the Lord stood with me and strengthened me in order that through me the proclamation might be fully accomplished, that all the Gentiles might hear, and I was delivered out of the lion's mouth. The Lord will deliver me from every evil deed. Finally, keep the Lord in full focus. Keep the Lord in full focus. Keep the Lord in full focus. Continue to let your heart be broken. Continue to let the words of Horatio Spafford bring tears. Continue to sing from the very pit of your being. Continue to love him with your whole heart. Continue to talk to him often, pouring out your soul to him. Continue to release the things you would want to cling to, even those closest to you. Make the Lord your full focus, and your ministry will be timeless, not to mention timely. I think what it takes is a willingness to let him lead, let him call the shots, let him do the guiding, let him do the defending, and you stay at the task of serving him.